Welcome to the Girl Dad Show.
Welcome to the Girl Dad Show, a professional parenting podcast. Each month, I interview entrepreneurs, leaders, and professionals who are balancing parenthood, life, and profession in the hopes to learn what it takes to be an amazing professional parent. Today on the Girl Dad Show, I'm interviewing Ben Hindman, a fellow girl dad and also a super creative. He talks about his journey from taking his passion in event planning into a full-scale technology company, learning how to set expectations with his kids and communicating with them, and also bringing them up around music and nurturing their goals and aspirations. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I did interviewing him. You're going to love his personality and character. Ben, welcome to the Girl Dad Show. Thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Nice to meet you, Young. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad to meet you as well. We've spent quite a bit of time making this happen, so I'm glad we're finally here.
It is tough to be a girl dad.
It really... Oh, you're a girl dad too.
I got two of them.
Oh, legit girl dad. That's great. Yeah. I think it's really fun that we kept having school issues, and then I had school issues, and then you had school issues and the cancellations, and we're finally here. And it's awesome that we have those shared problems, right? So let's just jump right into it. So tell the listeners what you do for a living.
Well, now I am the exec chairman of a company that I started about 10 years ago called Splash. I was and am an event planner by background, a very proud event planner. And I started a business with a dear friend of mine to make it easy to make events look awesome online. And so Splash powers the registration and the virtual events now, but all of the check-in and the emails, anything that you need to create an awesome attendee experience before and after an event. That's what our product does. And gosh, I built that for about 10 years and have just now stepped down and have put in a really incredible CEO. And my job right now, we should say the thing that takes up the majority of my time is thinking about company culture, certainly for my own company, Splash, but also I'm thinking about it for lots of different companies. I've been working really closely with Shopify to build their company culture through offsites that they call bursts. And I've been speaking about company culture and building products for company culture and inundating myself in the future of work. And so that's where you catch me.
Oh, that's awesome. Wait, so you started, you were an event planner, and then 10 years ago, you actually made it a business to actually like do some of the processing.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I was running events for a company called Thrillist. Did you ever get Thrillist email newsletters back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Me too. I got to be the guy who went city to city throwing all the cool events for dudes.
Oh my gosh.
And so we did mystery takeovers of hotels and flights and all the crazy parties for all the liquor brands pretty much.
That's awesome.
And then after about 2 years of that, I said, hey, we got to build a piece of software to make this job easier.
Yeah.
And that's what I spent the next decade doing.
I'm actually pretty sure I've attended some of your events then. That's awesome.
Hey, I thought you looked familiar. Didn't I kick you out of it?
That's probably what happened. Yeah, especially if it was before 10 years ago. Absolutely. And then how old are your kids?
So I have a 4.5-year-old girl, Zoe, and as of last week, another 1-year-old girl named Poppy. So
congratulations.
Zoe Ray, Poppy Sherry. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's huge. No wonder we're having so many scheduling issues. You're a busy bee.
Yes, sir.
That's fantastic. Sir. Wait, so you've been building this business for 10 years, and then in the middle of it, you had your first kid, right in the middle of the...
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot. It is a lot.
That is a lot. That's actually pretty wild. And did you have this kind of systems and like processes and kind of like things built out for paternity leave before you?
I mean, certainly the business was, it's a great business as far as our paternity leave. But I think what you're really asking is like, was I prepared, and was, the business prepared for me to do it? And the business was prepared for me. I didn't take my first paternity leave very seriously, which I regret. I kept working through it. My second paternity leave, I really tried to take seriously because I kind of screwed up the first one. But no, I mean, I'm happy to share more deeply, but I was very unprepared to have children.
Yeah, sure.
My wife,
let me know. What does that mean?
Yeah. My wife was a preschool teacher. She was very excited to have children. That was kind of part of the deal, and I was excited for her and excited to be on that ride. And certainly, you know, expected that one day I might have kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second it happened, it really rocked my world. It was it meant a loss of freedom that I wasn't prepared for, and it meant a refocusing away from, you know, my visionary cerebral CEO stuff to be here now and change diapers or play and read.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me. And that took a lot of adjustment.
Well, especially if you're out there like building parties for the masses, I could imagine that being a stark contrast to like, you know, like having to switch gears and like change diapers and build like blocks and stuff, right?
It was really hard. It is really hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely something. It's a practice. And it was also really taxing on my marriage, because my wife was so psyched up and I was so not.
Yeah.
And I do want to add a disclaimer that I love my kids. They're awesome. And it's very cool
I know.
to have kids, but it was not something, and still is something that I struggle a lot
No,
with.
I appreciate you being transparent about it. I totally know what you mean. I mean, like, it's something that I think most guys don't talk about, right? It's like hard for us to express those realities and emotions because we're not allowed to talk about it. But I get what you mean. You still love them and you're happy about it, but it's hard. It's tough. And we're really not prepared well for it at all. You know what I mean? And I think I completely empathize with what you're saying. And I think that that's absolutely accurate. And I have some relations to those sentiments as well too, and the thoughts came into my mind as well during my first. So what made you make the decision to step down after 10 years? It sounds like it's been a great ride, but it's a big decision.
Wow. You know, it was a hard, long journey, and continues to be. The business, it's one of the coolest products I could have ever imagined, and I'm really proud of it. The team that built this product and the services behind the product are like, I can't tell you how proud I am. And building in events for 10 years, it's challenging. It is. I mean, events by definition are gathering people, dealing with chaos, you know, innovating on creativity. It is a beast. And actually, if I'm being real, that part wasn't the hard part for me. The harder part was being a manager of managers. I learned pretty quickly about myself that I don't like doing that. I really like building culture. I actually really like being a manager, but being a manager of managers requires a level of discipline and control and pausing and patience that just candidly wasn't my flavor. And I'll be real. My exec team at one point kind of came to me and said, "Hey, Ben, the way you're operating right now, it doesn't really work for us, you know, and we're really talented." They are. How about you stop doing that? And I said, you know what?
You grew it too fast.
You're right.
You grew beyond your zone of excellence. Yeah.
Totally. And so I was excited. That, you know, at this point, I'm still working on projects within the business and helping drive the business in different ways, and you know, getting my hands dirty in the events game again. And that's where I love to be. I love user experience and attendee experience and spending time there. So it's actually
brilliant,
awesome
man.
But it's definitely it was a shock to my system to change my identity that quickly and no longer be a CEO. And now
but in some ways you get to basically go back to doing why you started the business anyways, or at least more of it, right? It sounds like you get to really dive deeper into your passion and things that you love about it. And that takes it's great. Yeah. It really is great. It does require me not giving my opinion as often, which is, you still give it. It just means that you might not mean as much as it used to. Hey, I have to ask, what is your, I mean, obviously this is a big transition here for you, but what does your wife think about this transition?
You know, gosh, I didn't realize we were going to get into, you know, armchair therapist here, but, you know, just to hopefully those that are listening will find it useful. It's, you know, it's just been, I would almost call it a midlife crisis in a way. And she's been really supportive, but she's been watching as I've tried my best to redefine and rethink about kind of who I am. And so when you ask how she's been handling it, she's been such a supportive woman for me, and really such a partner. But just kind of being real, she's been kind of watching the ups and downs. It's just kind of, on some days you're like, man, this is great. You know, I have the freedom I want. On other days, it's like, what is my purpose and where am I going with my life? And so it's been about a year of that. And I feel like I've been doing a bunch of work and really been kind of finding my way through it. And she's been such a rock. So I hired well, which, by the way, she's asked me to never use
management terminology for the relationship.
when we talk about marriage. But anyway, I've found an incredible
That's so
partner.
funny. There's a lot of parallels. I do that all the time. My wife hates it. Yeah, because I always talk about like business terminology and managing relationships with her. And she's like, are we doing a performance management conversation right now?
Yeah.
It's the worst. Yeah.
Turns out that's
it's not
romantic.
ideal. But hey, what does your oldest daughter think that you do for a living?
I asked her. She said, I actually asked her in anticipation of this. She said, "You make money." And then I said, "Well, what is money?" And she said, "Well, money is so that you can buy me candy." And I said, "Okay, well,
it's not wrong at all." And in some ways, it's actually probably the right answer, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's great.
She often thinks that our meetings are parties,
right,
which they can be. But yeah, it's been a journey. I'm curious actually to ask you, and if you've gleaned anything from your guests around how you chat with your kids about money. When she said that to me, I was like, I don't know that you fully know what money is. We don't use cash really. And do you understand the concept? And is it important for you too? And should I instill a sense of fear in you around money, or should there be kind of an abundance mindset? What's the best way to do this? And I'm curious if you've in your travels found any great ways to relate to money with your kids.
I definitely have interviewed quite a few entrepreneurs and people that have somewhat more money than most, I guess you should say. And I would say that the thing that I see that they do is teaching them, pretty early on, like the value of money and how money moves things around, but not necessarily focusing on the fact that it's good or bad. Like it's just a vehicle for things that you want, right? And so,
but like they create transparency in money. Is that something that they talk to your kids about money?
I can't say. I've only done this for I want to say what episode am I on? Like maybe 30 episodes right now. So I haven't interviewed that many people just yet. I'm still kind of new in this game, and I'm also a new dad, right? I mean, I have a 5-year-old and she's almost going to be 5, right? So she'll be 5 next month, and I'm not like a pro dad either, right? And so I'm still kind of figuring this out, but it's just one of those questions that I talk to my daughter about, and I talk to other, entrepreneurs about, and they talk about it in the sense of like, especially the ones that have older kids, but like the sense of like trying to teach them that, I don't want to sound like terrible when I say this, because this could be a little bit controversial, but like not paying them for chores, but like teaching them how much, because then it's like you have to work to get the money, but versus like, how do you use money as a vehicle versus as an end goal? And so that's the mindset shift that you have to start coaching them on and like guiding them through that, like, hey, yeah, there's an abundance mindset on that, right? And I love that you brought those two things up, but it's the reality of like moving money as a vehicle versus like money being the end goal. It's complicated, man. And there's no book or like steps to it. There's not like a 12-step program to teach this, but I get why that's important, right? Because it's stuff that I wish I learned when I was in my 20s or even in my teens. And now I'm like, well into my 40s, and I'm just figuring this out, right? I'm like, oh, money isn't the end goal. It doesn't actually, it's just like, oh crap, I wish I could teach my kids this earlier. And so there is like a hyper focus for me as well too, to like teach my kids this. So I've been asking my kids as well, like, what do you think I do for a living? And what does that look like? And to be honest with you, they say the exact same thing as your kid. They're like, hey, you make money. You push buttons on a keyboard. You're on the phone a lot, and you make money. And money buys us trips to Disney World, and gets us things that they want. So I'm not sure if they're going to even understand or comprehend it. That's a really interesting conundrum. I'll start digging more into that, and I'll get back to you. Okay.
One thing we've been playing with is taking out cash before we go anywhere, and just kind of trying not to use credit cards. And I have no idea if this is going to work or what it's going to work as, but I realized very quickly that at the supermarket, there was no concept of that things cost money, that there was a trade.
Because physically, they're not seeing anything transfer back and forth, right? Like you're just like scanning your watch or whatever. Like, Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's at least a start. Yeah, it's for anyone who's listening, if you have any resources or insights, I am so interested in how to help my children through the next future of money.
I would be too. So we'll definitely start putting that out there, trying to get some more information on that, or I'll start asking guests if they have recommendations for guests that have this kind of knowledge. But that's awesome, man. And so what are your goals for your kids? So are you going to be able to spend more time with them, or what does that look like with you stepping down?
Do you mean my goals for my kids or my goals for myself?
I didn't even know there was a difference. Tell me answers to both of those.
Well, I would say, well, my goals for my kids are that they find something that they love and have the tools to go execute against it and grow in it. My hope for myself is that I can have the patience and the wherewithal to let them explore without imposing my own beliefs and tools on them. So I think it's two sides of the same coin. Yeah. I mean, an example that maybe those that are listening might find useful is music. I'm not a musician, but I love music, and I was able to sneak my way onto a cappella groups as a beatboxer. And it was the greatest experience of my life. I can't sing a note, but I was able to participate. And so that's something I've always hoped for my kids, that they would learn about music and gain skills for music at an early age. And so I, much to the chagrin of my wife, who said, "This is insane," bought a big piano, right? And said, "We're going to put this in the house." So we got a piano that just never gets used or hasn't yet. And, I put the kids in, piano lessons and singing lessons, and, they're two, it's not going to work yet. But anyway, it's kind of one of these things I'm wrestling with, which is I so badly wish my parents had given me music and really taught my brain how to move around music at an early age. And simultaneously, I want my children to find their own way and to find things that they really love. And so I'm finding that conflict or that tension is something that I live a lot. I'm curious if
it's
you have
a constant battle as well. Like my probably a little bit different in the sense that my wife really wants our kids to be athletes. She wants them to be outdoors, playing with mud, playing soccer, or any kind of sports. Really, she's a huge sports fan, so she likes sports and stuff. And I'm really not. I don't even know I don't even know the rules to the sports games and stuff. And so it's really not that interesting to me. But I grew up in music, so I did grow up with my parents saying, "Hey, you should play music," and I fell in love with it, right? And so much so that I asked if I could learn all these different instruments. So I ended up learning a bunch of different instruments because I got so into it. And so secretly, I really want to push my kids into playing music, because like a secret dream of mine, like life goals would be me and my daughters like having a singing YouTube channel, right? When we're like famous for singing, that would be like heaven for me. Like I would just be so elated and content with life, right? It doesn't even have to be successful. I would just be happy, just happy, right? Happiness would come from that. And so we secretly like want these different things for our kids. And so we're constantly like doing these little things. We're like, oh, we got to watch out from like pushing it. But I've also thought about this a lot too. And it's kind of like when you talk to certain parents, they're like, hey, if you just kind of live your life and just do what you think is right for you, and you just kind of drive forward with it, then that becomes the family thing. Don't worry about it. And then if they do want to try something different, as long as you don't discourage it, like they're still going to be able to explore. You're going to be able to get a best of both worlds. I'm not really sure about that, because I don't know if people realize how dominant my personality is and how aggressive I am with like things that I want to do. And I get the feeling that you're kind of the same way. But
what makes you say that, Young?
Yeah, I am exactly. Well, it comes down to like the fact that you the fact that you're conscious about it and like you're balancing it, means a lot to me. I think that means that you're being thoughtful about being a dad, and you're taking it very seriously, right? Like, because as an entrepreneur, you basically make a decision and you go for it, and you don't let anything get in your way. And then now you're kind of have to like rewire your brain to allow someone else to kind of like make these decisions on their own way and their own path, and supporting them, right? And so I'm proud of you, man. You're doing the thing. You're doing the thing. Yeah.
Hey,
that's
thanks.
awesome.
That means a lot.
So What are they interested in?
Well, yeah, mostly Zoe is an incredible dramatic player. She can turn anything into a creative game. Like, if I give her this water bottle, it'll become a princess. And then all of a sudden we're in a water bottle princess dramatic play, which is very cool and makes all sports almost impossible. So you're playing soccer or you're playing chess, and all of a sudden, the pawns are in a family dinner with the queen. But yeah, she just
awesome.
loves
very imaginative
dramatic play.
Yeah.
Poppy's won, so nothing quite yet from Poppy. But she's just a sweet.
Yeah,
sweet,
I mean, it's hard.
kid.
It's hard at 1 year old to like figure out what her interests are. She's probably just so excited about everything, I feel like you tell me if I'm wrong here, but are you fairly theatrical as well?
I never learned how to act like anyone other than me, which makes my acting, if you put me in a play as like a tech bro, I could totally crush that show, right? But other than that, I don't know if you want me in that play.
And so now, as you think about this next stage of your professional career and pivoting into a newer role, right?
Yeah, newer role, same company. Yeah, for as long as they'll have me, I'd like to keep on playing in this space of events and culture and do it alongside Splash. So it's exciting.
I can't imagine that not being amazing. Yeah, I would see that being an actual benefit in the macro, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually really astute and smart, like that you're actually like able to kind of like look in and figure out where you can benefit yourself, but also benefit the macro of the company. Like that's the beauty of getting older and wiser, right?
So again, my wife is a preschool teacher, and it appears to me like what she's instilling in them, the thing that she's focusing most on is what I'd say is like control over their bodies, over their nervous system, and being very aware of when their bodies like hunger or fatigue or heat, and allowing them to be super aware of that and its impact on their mood. And that's really interesting to watch, because I would say that the majority of time where I was not acting like a good manager, or for instance, was not leading in a good way, I was letting my nervous system take over and getting flustered or moving too fast. And so to answer your question, how are we teaching our kids to learn how to transition? It's exactly that. I mean, Zoe has a really challenging time moving from one activity to the next when there's not clarity and predictability. So if we don't say, hey, there's one more minute before we have to leave the playground, that can really send her into a tantrum. I'm sure that's not the case with every kid, but that's the case with my kid. And, we love her. And so the awareness of her body, of her nervous system, I wouldn't say that's something I really had a lot of insights about. The nervous system and kind of consciousness around it was such an important, critical thing to be aware of as a child.
That is awesome.
But I'm psyched that my wife knew that. One of the things I would actually share that was insight given to me about the nervous system was that someone once shared with me that the times that you remember your parents getting most mad are the times where they lost control of their nervous system, that they actually let their bodies take over and did not control it, and that of course is a young behavior. It's a childlike behavior. And so something that I've been trying hard to be super aware of is, yes, when I might lose control of my nervous system, and to really not allow that to happen, at least in front of the children, the counter is to kind of model control over my nervous system. A quick anecdote: the other day, I took a deep breath like this. I would like to really just like, oh my gosh, this kid. And Zoe leans in and says, "Daddy, why did you just do that?" And I said, "Why did I do what, Zoe?" She goes, "Well, why did you go like this?" I go, "Well, why do you think I did that?" And she goes, "Because I'm being really mean to you."
Wow.
I said, "Yes, that is exactly why I did that." And that stuck with her. So I was really proud that she kind of saw my regulation of my nervous system. And I'm hopeful that by the time she gets to like 6 or 7, she has a bit more control over her nervous system. And as I said, I can't think of something that would impact her business acumen, her life acumen more than that awareness, than that control. So that's something I hope we give them.
That's awesome, man. And I definitely am going to try to do that tactic as well.
Deep breath, deep breath.
Do you mind if I ask how you grew up? Did you grow up with entrepreneurial parents and event planners, or like what was your childhood like?
Well, thanks for asking. So where to begin? My grandparents were epic entrepreneurs. Epic. My grandfather started one grandfather started a trade magazine. The other one started invented a machine that tested the strength of other machines. And my dad worked for his father, and my mom was a graphic designer turned hospital chaplain. So she ended up taking a very different path. And so I wouldn't say that entrepreneurship was a big deal in my family. I would say that I grew up with means. We grew up with enough that money was never a challenge, which is, of course, a blessing and a curse. The blessing of it was that as I grew up and went through college, there was never kind of a, hey, can we do that or not? It was always yeah, of course we can do that. Let's go do that. And so I think that really afforded me the freedom to go build whatever my mind thought was interesting. And so I really appreciate that. Of course, the downside, or I should say what I've learned as of late or as I grew older, was that I didn't fully understand, or I didn't have a clear control over kind of my relationship to money or my relationship to resources. And that can manifest as shadows in lots of different ways, including in how you manage a business and the resources of a business. And so, I would say that while creativity was held at a high premium in my family, and so that, that defined me and molded me. But it comes with its pluses and minuses. Many of the most talented entrepreneurs I know grew up in a very different scenario where they had to create their own resources or build things out of necessity. And what I usually find is that they're often much more apt operators. And so there's always kind of this abundance scarcity dichotomy or tension that I still kind of I lean into and am interested in, as it defined me and other entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And then what are you going to take? Are you taking any of those lessons with your kids? Are you applying one way or the other, or doing a hybrid?
What a question. I don't know the right answer. And I mean, gosh, I'd love to know yours. I can't tell if I should instill them with some level of scarcity, or show them that the world is their oyster and they can build anything and abundance is everything. I think that some of the smartest people I know just have figured out how to strike that balance with awareness, as you've said, kind of the trade of money, right? And as opposed to what it represents as an ends, understanding it fully as a means, I think is a really interesting thought. But I would hope for them that, they would learn from me that if you start at opportunity, if you start at what could this be, it can be really fun, and you can get many more places. And divergent and non-linear thinking can be a really powerful tool. So I would hope to instill that in them. Certainly, that's what my mom and dad instilled in me: is that think about all the options first, and then converge on your thinking. I would hope to give them that. That's something that was really a really powerful gift from my parents.
I think that's great, man. And I think that you're going into it with open mind, right? And you're kind of gonna figure it out as you go. And I think that's the right answer. There isn't really a right answer, I think, right? You just got to figure it out for yourself. But I do find that the way you're brought up does impact you quite a bit, and hey, the music thing, right? Because you really wish that you had that. So now you put a piano in the middle of your house and you're trying to teach them. There's things that influence you. So it's pretty fun to talk through those things, because I talked to you about this, about like money and, you know, the abundance mindset versus like the value mindset and all those things. But the reality for me is like when push comes to shove, and by the third time, you know, my daughters like give me their puppy eyes, I bend over, right? I'm just like, okay, what are we getting? Let's just go get it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even care. I'm just like, I like totally spoiled and rotten, and I'm such a pushover. And they have me wrapped around their fingers. And so, like, I don't know how to like be disciplined around it. I mean, I do, but I struggle really hard, you know, by like the third or fourth push they have me, you know?
I gotta tell you, I'm reading a book right now called The Leader Lab, and it's a management book. And it's written by Tanya Luna, who started Life Labs. And I can't tell you how every single thing that I'm reading in this is basically something that my wife, again, a preschool teacher, has mastered with our child. I could rattle off several of them, but essentially the feedback mechanism, the way to keep someone in line and give feedback as a manager, is almost exactly the right answer when it comes to kids. And I'm learning that because I too am a pushover. Or my only other weapon or tool, I should say, is to be fierce and mad and use emotions as a weapon. And of course, all good managers and leaders know that really neither are the correct answer. They're somewhere in the middle. And so that's a journey for me, learning how important management techniques are, leader techniques, in order to lead my children. So, yeah, I'm with you.
That's awesome. I love it. Hey, Ben, let me switch gears and put you down the rapid fire questions here, just so we get some symmetry to all my episodes. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So, what advice do you have for other parents and soon-to-be parents?
Okay, well, the first one's a little tactical. If you haven't mastered like the football hold, where the kid is lying on the belly, feet on either side straddling your arm facing outward, you'll find that hold, it debilitates the legs and creates a lot of, you know, a lot of motion. It's a little bit of a delt workout. That's totally clutch. Strong recommendation on the football carry. Okay, this guy named Mick Boogie, he's a great DJ dad in New York. He told me early, he said, you can be a Dwayne Reed dad. And I said, what is a Dwayne Reed dad? He said, when I was a dad, I didn't think I could ever leave the house. And because I was nervous that I wouldn't have the things I needed in order to take care of the kid. But then I realized that everything you need for a kid is at Dwayne Reed. And that I know that's a simple thought, but that opened up my ability to take my kid out on my own, which was really fun. And yes, I almost always forgot something, and I almost always stopped by Dwayne Reed.
Nice.
And so that was empowering. So being a Dwayne Reed dad, I would help her. You can do that. And yeah, I guess last piece is, well, I had already mentioned it. Working on your nervous system. Your nervous system's gonna be put to the test. And so when you're tired, when you're angry, your ability to feel your feelings and show you and model for your kids how you control and work with your feelings, not making them bad things, making feelings important and good, but also working with them.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of like answering the next question, which is, you know, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself that no party is that important. And what I mean is that it is so hard. There's times. So the one thing that you might not realize as a parent is how challenging childcare actually is. You think in your head, okay, I get that it's expensive, right? Childcare is expensive. I got to pay for it. And but whenever I want to go to a party or a thing, I'll get a nanny. That's not how it works, because childcare requires you finding and hiring the right people, just like any business. It requires you working with their schedules, managing them, making sure that your kids are working well with them, and then also managing the time frame and the hours. So you really end up, there's just times where you cannot go on that vacation, or you cannot go to that event, and it's just how it is. That's just how the childcare system is going to work for you, unless you got $1 billion and you can just pay it away. But even then, I don't buy it. Some of the most affluent people I know still can't fully master the childcare game. It's just that hard. And so what I'd offer is that knowing that, and then just being okay with sometimes you're staying home and you're hanging with your kids and finding excitement and glory in the fact that you get to go to the best party, which is the one with your kids. It's something I wish I could fully have appreciated. I would have saved myself a lot of stress in the early days when I was sitting at home with a whole bunch of FOMO.
Nice. Very good answer. What's the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself after becoming a parent?
Most surprising. So the most surprising thing for me actually was the level of closeness with my wife. I didn't realize. You hear that the kid takes a toll on your marriage, and that is true. It's some of the hardest times you'll ever have are in like the first year, certainly for me.
Yeah, there it is. Yep. And you've already stated that, so now we know it's truth. We know it's truth in the family. All right, let's go to the next one. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, more to you and business. But what's your favorite business book?
This one I'm reading right now. I have two that I recommend right now. One is Magical Meetings by John Fitch, and the other one is The Leader Lab by Tanya Luna. I'm just like, nice. I can't stop reading both of them, and I read them over and over again. And I really don't love business books, but these two I can read over and over again. I go back to a lot.
That's great. And then last question to bring us home here. So when you're not being a super dad and being this awesome culture evangelist, what do you do on downtime? What's your go-to? I
invented a sport called Rip and Run, which is basically disc golf, which is like frisbee golf, but I run to the disc and then do exercises. And there's just nothing cooler. And for anyone listening, if you ever want to join me, I'm here in Austin, Texas, but I'll fly to you to go do it. Or we've got great courses here. But just running through the forest, throwing plastic, but like a superhero might, like it just like flies out of your hand, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat or something, or like Gambit from X-Men. It's just the most amazing experience I've ever had, and I can't stop doing it. I do it every single day. So Rip and Run is my answer.
Do you have the rules listed somewhere? You should make a website. That's awesome.
I did. It's ripandrun.splashthat.com. I have all the rules. We work out all 18 muscle groups. It's it's the best.
I'm like so bummed. I didn't know you were in Austin. I'm in Austin. We should have been doing this live.
All right, Young, do you want to go rip and running or what?
Let's go. Let's go rip and running. But we should have done this whole interview.
Why are we doing this
been so much fun.
Over the computer?
I had no idea. I should have started by asking. I should have just assumed that everyone's moving here, and just lives here, right?
Everyone is coming here. We're all descending on your party.
That's right. So great. Hey, Ben, it was really great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your business, your life, the way you think about parenting and life and all those good things. It's been a really enjoyable conversation.
Thank you for the time. This was really fun. I appreciate that you're putting this podcast together. Very, very cool.
Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. We'll talk soon, okay? Thank you again for listening to The Girl Dad Show. To help our show grow, please let us know who we should interview next by filling out the form on our website or commenting below.